Hello and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community and Magazine Facebook page. I'm Ginny Robertson, one of the hosts of the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, where we talk with real women who are living their lives on purpose and bringing their unique gifts to the planet. I'm also the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman Magazine, and I'm founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. My guest today is angel intuitive and coach Mary Perry. Actually, let me call her Reverend Mary Perry. That's the official title here. And we'll be talking about how to invite communication from your angels and let it guide you. Mary, thanks for being with me.
Thanks for having me today. I was really looking forward to this and sharing some angel love with everybody. So
I'm looking forward to receiving some angel love. So thank you. Well, let's start with me telling everybody a little bit about you.
Okay.
So Reverend Mary Perry connects with her angelic guidance to bring her clients messages for healing. With her business, Wings Unfurled, she is dedicated to helping others connect to their inner wisdom for healing and transformation. Mary offers angelic guidance through angel readings and channelings, Seraphim Blueprint Practitioner and Teacher, integrated energy therapy, and a weekly meditation circle called Angel Inspiration Circle. Her website, www.wings-unfurled.com, offers more information about these modalities. And Mary's website is in the text of the video. So Mary, there's so much to talk about, but I'd love to start with, how did you know you could communicate with your angels, and how did you start doing that? I mean, did you just wake up one day and went, oh?
Well, after my dad passed in 1995, a year after he passed, I called my mom to see how she was doing. When my dad passed, he saw angels, and my mom and I talked about it. He would speak about them to us. And so we started buying angel figures, and I have tons of angels at my house. You can see one in back of me, as a matter of fact, watching over my shoulder. But, the year after he passed, I called my mom, and she was at church actually that day. And what happened was the voice on the answering machine was my dad's voice that we had erased the year before. And so I was at work and I started bawling and I hung up the phone and I went, you could not have, after I cleared my head, you could not have heard that right. So I called back again, got the same message. And I was like, okay, there's something going on here. So the third time I called back, mom was on her way in from church and I'm yelling at her, like, what did you do to the answering machine? Nothing. So I knew that that was a sign for me that, he was trying to tell me something. So I had my first reading. And when I walked into the woman's house, and I never told her about that whole thing going on before I did the reading, because I was skeptical. And I walked in and she said, your dad's right behind you. And I went, okay, there's something to all of this. And I had always been interested in I had a curiosity about angels, about, talking to past loved ones, to all of those kinds of energy healings, Reiki. I had an interest, but it never really taken the steps. And so the Zoom, I was broken open that day, big time. And it just started me on a journey. Now, my dad and I did not get along well. He was one of my abusers in my life. And when he died, I really didn't like him a whole lot. And I will tell you now, I love my dad. I do. And I'm grateful to him because I believe his gift to me was opening me back up to the world of angels. And I'm so grateful for that, because without that, the healing that I've done in the past 20 some years would not have happened in the same way it has for me. And so it just started me reading, taking classes, finding different places that interested me. And I just started expanding my knowledge base with all of that. Wow. And I would get tarot readings, but I finally found a reader in Bel Air, which is where I was living at the time. And she did angel readings. So when I had my first angel reading, it was like the skies opened. I heard this symphony of a choir symphony, just amazing, ta-da, this is it. And so that's what started me with the angels.
Wow. So it's been over 20 years ago then when your
It's
dad
been
spoke to
closer
you.
to 26, 27. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
And here you are doing this
And here I
remarkable
am.
work.
Yeah.
Your story reminds me a little bit of a friend of mine who lives in North Carolina, and she does, she's a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher and guide. And she was an English teacher, high school English teacher, never had any interest in any of that stuff, just went to, regular church on Sunday and did all that. And she said she woke up one night from the middle of a deep sleep and she saw her father. And he said, Pat, you've got stuff to do in the world. You better get on with it. And
I love it.
she has this great Southern accent. She goes, and when your dead daddy comes to you and tells you stuff, you listen.
You're gonna
And so
listen.
it just shifted everything for her. So your story sounds somewhat familiar because, but we have to be paying attention, don't we? I mean, there's so many things that you could have done differently
Right.
and not be here
It-
talking to me now.
yeah. And in the beginning, I did choose not to listen at times, you know.
That's
I was still,
understandable, I think. I mean,
yeah, I was still married. It was not a great marriage. I was thinking about divorcing, but I wasn't ready to go there quite yet. And the first couple of years I was doing the angel work, I did divorce. But it was just interesting how things just kept presenting themselves. It wasn't as though I had to go seeking something. It would just come into my energy fields, and I paid attention. And sometimes I chose it, sometimes I didn't.
mhm.
When I didn't choose whatever that was message was being given to me, sometimes my life went on a little bit of a side trip and wasn't the best, you know?
Interesting. Yeah.
And so, over the years, I learned to trust, and that's one of the biggest ways that as we start into this journey of healing, trusting your intuition, your gut, your messages, huge, huge.
Well, you do believe that we all have angels we can connect with. Is that true?
I absolutely believe that. We all have at least two guardian angels in my belief. But not only that, archangels are here for all of us. That's part of their purpose is to intercede for us and help us in our lives. We need to ask. That's the biggest thing. We need to ask for that help and then trust that it'll come. Now, it may not always come in the way we think it should, or the answer, sometimes we as human beings like to go, okay, well, I want to do this, and it's going to look like this little box.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it doesn't come to us in that little box. It may come in a sloppy, messy way that, gets the job done, but it's not that neat little box. And so, for instance, one time I wanted a new car and I'd been wanting one. My old car was like, not good. And it was used. And I had an accident that totaled my old car. Did not hurt me, did not hurt anybody else. I hit a guardrail, spun around, hit a guardrail, but it totaled my car. And I ended up with a new car. And luckily, I had found I had gap insurance, which paid for my old car, right? So it was like this, like little miracles. And I ended up with the car I wanted, which was my first Prius. And my girlfriend said to me, she goes, well, you got your wish from the angels. I said, what are you talking about? She said, you said you've been asking them for a new car. And by gosh, I had been. I had been asking for Archangel Michael to take care of my old car and make sure it was, would take me where I needed. But I had been asking also for a new car. So that was not the way I thought I was going to get that.
Right. You thought some windfall of money might come in and you would go pick out
Exactly.
your brand new
Right.
car, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's just, you have to stay open to all the possibilities and just, see the miracles that come, even in little bits and pieces.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit later about how to be more open and how to look for the signs and all of that. But I have a question that you sparked when you talked about your dad. And you a little bit later you said we have to ask for help. Now, had you been asking for guidance just like in meditation before that, or were you yearning for your life to be a bit different? Or
I was yearning for my life to be different. I was not meditating at that point. I
Mhm.
was not metaphysical in any way. I was a good Catholic girl,
Mhm.
and I was afraid to step outside of that box a bit until I had that interaction with him a year later, and then
Mhm.
that started things off. But my life wasn't happy.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, did not have a love. I do not feel as my parents loved me, and I know they loved me, but I did not feel loved. I felt like a burden, and my dad was a verbal abuser. He also sexually abused me at when I was
Mm.
young, and so it was not a happy childhood for me. My high school years, I had gotten pregnant, not by my dad, but by my boyfriend, and I had to give the baby up for adoption. So that from the time I was born until about 18, 19, 20, actually until I got married, 21, is a whole section of my life that wasn't happy.
Mm.
And so when my dad passed, I was 40, and I had been through a marriage that was not the happiest, and um, was going to counseling. So I was finding out who I was and how I was raised up, and I was in an alcoholic family married to an alcoholic. And so, yeah, my life was not, I was not happy. I was depressed. I started on antidepressants while my dad was passing because I was very highly fragile about all of that. And I had moved home because my mom was even more fragile than I was.
Mm.
And she couldn't drive. So I moved home the last month he was here to take care of him and her. And so, yeah, so in many ways, I would be on my knees at times asking God for help, but not in the way I do today.
Right, right.
And, so yes, God did step in and sent me the answers and sent me signs and ways to heal. But not in the normal, go to the doctor, get the pill, or,
Mhm.
have not in that normal way.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that because I guess my whole point in asking was to make sure that everybody is hearing that it really works maybe probably quicker and faster and better if you ask, if they have
Absolutely.
permission to help, but also to pay
Absolutely.
attention to what's going on around you because
Exactly.
there could be lots of signs there.
So, and even an ask is maybe those times in my life when I was thinking, oh gosh, I'd really like for this situation to change. How can I, find that joy again? Because
Mhm.
I was not happy.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sure that was being heard by the angels and God and help kind of orchestrate some of the things that happened for me. So, yeah.
Well, you're going to share with our viewers two ways they can begin to connect with their angels. So let's talk about the first way.
So you mentioned meditation before, and I will say that meditation is the biggest way that you can connect with your angels. Now, when I started to meditate, I would fall asleep all the time. I wasn't getting there. And I thought I had to clear my mind. And what I came to figure out was that I had to focus and have an intention set and, allow that to kind of lead me forward. And even if I got pulled out of that intention or that focus, I could always let that go in a little balloon and come back to stillness, centering, and moving with my focus. And so it took me a while, took me a little while, it took some years, I will say, but it was a steady, I was every day meditating for at least 45 minutes
Mm.
and sometimes an hour, sometimes a couple times a day. But through that meditation was where I grew the most. And, that started to stop those hamster wheel up here that was going on and on and on. And my partner will tell you, sometimes the things that come out of my brain are just kind of like really scary because it doesn't stop. And but yet for me, it helps slow that down. It helped take those thoughts away, and it helped open new ways for the angels to put in inspiration, healing those thought patterns.
So, Mary, when you started meditating, did you have an intention? Did you have a question? Did you ask for help? Or how did you start doing that?
So it would be a couple of ways. I would usually use guided meditation. And when I started doing it on my own, I used Doreen Virtue's chakra clearing meditation, which I don't know if it's still out there or not, but it was pretty good. There was a morning and an evening one. And I would do that. I did that for probably over a year. I also would go to meditation I was in development classes, and I would go to meditation there. And we would do different kinds of journeys. And then I listened to other Doreen Virtue, and usually Doreen Virtue was my go-to back in the day. That was in the 90s. And so she really filled a lot of good things for me with meditation about the angels, and her books too. But I always, in conjunction with meditating, would set that intention. I want, I have, I am, whatever that statement is, and just allow the angels to bring me more information. I learned early on not to ask the question, why is this happening to me?
Mhm.
Way back when, I used to be that, why is this happening to me person. And somebody explained it to me one time, and it might have been something Wayne Dyer said, I'm not sure. But he said, when you ask why, it's as if you're taking God out of the equation and saying that you know better than he does about what's to happen for you. And so that was huge, a huge awakening for me. And what I came to realize is that instead of asking why, ask, what am I missing?
Mm.
How can I work with this more? Is there something that you want to tell me? Or is there something that's important for me to know now? And just ask those sorts of questions rather than, why is this happening?
Mhm.
Because that takes us out of the kind of the victim place,
Victim place, right.
Yes.
I think that was Wayne Dyer. Other people, I'm sure, have said it, but he
Yeah.
also, I think, added to that, ask why not me?
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
instead of like, are you so
Exactly.
special that nothing is ever supposed to happen to you?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And it does take us out of that victim mode and gets us into more possibilities, I think, to see more possibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a very good one. Thank you. And I want to hear the second one that you're going to share with us now.
So, and the second piece of, getting to know your angels is writing, journaling.
Mm.
Journaling was huge. I don't know how many journals I have stored here in this house, piles and piles and piles. But back in the 90s, I journaled every day, all day long. I love to write. I haven't written much. I wrote a couple of chapters in 2 books last year, but other than that, I haven't written much lately. And I'm kind of wanting to express again. So look out. I think I will be writing some more here coming up. Um, but the journaling for me, I mean, sometimes I journaled about my feelings. Sometimes I asked my questions of the angels in my journal. And, I didn't need to have an immediate answer, but I felt like taking it out of here and putting it down in journal form helped make that ask. It's like it concreted it. And although the angels read our minds, so you can ask in your minds for sure questions, but if you write it, it makes it more real for them and for you. And it also helps clear the brain a little bit so more of the answer can come in, or, different thoughts, and not just keep obsessing about one thing.
Well, that's a really important, I think, tool for actually making any kind of change, is to
Change.
get the stuff out of our head
Yep.
and to let other things come in, and to not obsess so much about what we think we know already.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and that brings up the word ego,
Mm.
getting out of our ego place. And I know Wayne Dyer said this one,
Yeah.
edging God out,
Mhm.
ego. And there were times that my head was so loud that I would have to say, shut up, sit on my shoulder, my left shoulder, as a silent observer today. I am listening to inspiration only. And that shifts something when I do that. And it does stop the mind and all of those ego thoughts.
I love Wayne Dyer, and I really credit him and his writing and his speaking with so much of the transformation in my life. And
Mhm.
I got to see him live like 5 times before he
Oh,
passed.
wow.
And sometimes it was up close and kind of personal, and I got to talk with him. It was just really, was an amazing man,
Yes, he is.
who left such a gift.
Yes.
So Mary, how do we know, or how can we know, if we can, whether what we're hearing when we're asking, we're in meditation, or what we're writing is our angel and not just some random thought we're having? Can you tell the difference?
I can, because for me, it comes with a different inflection on the words. It's not me, talking to myself, which sometimes is very critical.
Mhm.
And, even when I'm being positively critical, it's still, there's got an edge to it, if that makes sense. When it's coming from an inspirational place, from the angels, from spirit, from that guidance, it's softer.
Mm.
You know, even my words when I speak, I go soft when the message is really channeled rather than me just saying something that I think the person wants to hear. And so it's not that, Mary, that was a stupid thing to do. It's like, Mary, maybe you want to try this today.
Mm.
Huh, maybe I do. Or, gee, maybe it's time to make some changes in your life. What do you think that, what about taking care of yourself a little better? What's that self-care look like today? It still it doesn't tell me what to do, but they help me find a space to make a better decision. And I believe that instead of coming from my head, it comes from my heart. So a lot of times, before I journal, I'll sit and be still for 5 minutes, do some deep breaths, you know, take myself out of the busyness of the day and really allow my heart to open and feel it. And then as I feel whatever bubbles up, that's what I write.
Okay.
The other piece, when, like I was, even as a teenager, I did Dear Diary stuff. I don't do Dear Diary. I do Dear God.
Mm.
Dear God. So I'm not just talking to me. So whatever I put in that piece is channeled towards God with questions. Help me. Um, all those questions. What am I missing? Is there something that I need to know? What about this person? What's why am I feeling this way? Um, just those kinds of questions.
And this is how we learn to trust our intuition more as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because trusting is huge.
Mhm.
I believe that, I think today, in today's world, we are all intuitive. I mean, I believed we were intuitive from way back when. It's just how much we believed it, how much we allowed ourselves to step into the beliefs of what we feel, what we know, what we hear, and what we see are the right things. And so, developing those gifts, if you want to call it that, it's really just kind of like, I don't know, it's like practicing. It's practicing like music, you're always fine tuning. Well, that's what honing those gifts are. It's like the knob on the radio where the old days when you would turn and you have the static and then you get the station in a little bit clearer. It's the same thing. It's about trusting
So
and
we're using
absolutely
that muscle. We're actually developing that
using the
trust
muscle.
muscle. Is how I like to look
Absolutely.
at it. Yeah.
When I first started doing this work, I wrote the word trust I typed it on computer and made copies and cut them out and pasted them
Mm.
all over my house, because I had always heard spirit and I didn't understand it was spirit. As a little girl, I heard, and I thought everybody heard like that, and they didn't, and that's okay. But I also recognized that I was being asked to step up and trust a good deal more.
Mm.
And so, as I did that, life just really was miraculous. Yeah.
So when we're getting information from spirit, from the angels, I guess we call them all God and the angels spirit, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's loving. It feels loving.
It feels loving. Yes.
Okay. And we don't always feel loving when we speak to ourselves.
Right.
Sound loving. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We use also, I've heard you say that we get signs from our angels. Can you talk some more about that?
Sure. Um, so, I'll be walking over at the park and I look down and here's this beautiful stick that looks like it has a face on it to me. Or there's a shell that looks like it has a face on it to me. Or there's a feather that's just really pretty and it's nice and clean. I pick all of those up. I know that spirit coming in to say, hey, we're with you. You know, it may mean something special and it may just be a reminder to check your brain out at the door and go back to the heart and really open to what spirit has to say. Or you could be driving down the road and you've had these questions about something that you're trying to make a decision on, and you have the radio on in the car, and all of a sudden the song that comes on the radio has the perfect answer to what you've been mulling over in your head for days. There's no coincidence with that.
Or you might see a license plate that has a message for you, or a bumper
Exactly.
sticker, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And numbers. Numbers are huge. 111 is the angels are watching over. 444, angels are near. There's all kinds of angel numbers, but yes, so pay attention to the numbers. The other thing that I get a lot here, we have a lot of wildlife out back. So we have the blue herons, we have the egrets, I have foxes across the water. We have a groundhog over there. We even have deer that come out by the water over there. And there's always a message with them as well. And, you know, sometimes I understand what it is, and sometimes I look up in the book Nature Speaks to see what that message was. But sometimes I just know, you know, I just, oh, okay, yeah. And so that's a message as well. Now, I know my partner Will came out of work, this is years ago, on a really cold, cold night. And as he got to his car, on the frozen windshield were a huge amount of white feathers. And they were warm. They were not cold. And you can't mistake that sign. That's a sign that something, the angels are here and watching over you, and they want you to pay attention to something. That was huge for him.
That is huge. That is
Yeah.
big. So
So
fortunately, he was in a place where he understood that and didn't freak out over it, right?
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sounds like you're saying, in a nutshell, I guess, is that we can see signs from our angels, we can feel signs, but we have to be in the present moment to be able to do it. Correct?
So many of us are on that fast track and multitasking 10 different things at once. You're making dinner, watching TV, watching the kids do their homework, whatever that is, that you're not paying attention to that moment. And so, you know, and I'm not saying to stop that all the time because obviously we live in a fast paced world, but there are times when we really need to just stop. And so when I said meditation was one way to connect, I'm also going to add with that meditation and or stillness, just a practice of becoming still. That doesn't take 10 minutes. That takes maybe 5 minutes, if
Yeah.
that. And it shifts the energy in you. It centers you, it helps ground you, and it brings a conscious awareness to your surrounding. That's what it takes. Thinking outside of your normal box.
Yes. And just the concept, just when you say the word stillness, I felt myself go, oh, because there's nothing to attain. There's nothing to, with meditation, I think we can go into it with goals,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
and yet there's nowhere to judge ourselves. We're just being still.
Yes,
And we have complete control over that stillness.
absolutely.
And we can get a benefit if it's 3 minutes, right?
Right.
Just breathe and be still.
Yes,
And then we can be so much more for the people around us when we take that.
exactly.
I know
I
some
mean,
busy moms have to probably go in and lock the bathroom door, but
yes,
do it.
you can do it.
Do
Yes,
it. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. So it can be that little, you know, and that's so important. So important.
Well, I think you've covered some of this, but if there's anything more you want to say, I've heard you also say that we can overlook these signs because we just go like with your father. You said that couldn't have been a coincidence.
Right.
But sometimes we'll go, well, that was just a coincidence, or people around us will tell us, well,
Yeah.
that just happened. There's no meaning to it. How can we start to do less of that and a little bit more of just being open to whether there
Well,
is something there?
I would work on changing your beliefs around coincidences. My belief in this world that we are all to have experiences.
Mhm.
Some of them are loving and wonderful, and oh, they get your attention and you can't miss. But some of them are maybe less than positive and maybe a little challenging. They're meant for you as well. And so, if you're like walking out and somebody that you hadn't seen in a long time kind of, knocks into you as you're walking down the street, is that a coincidence? Or had that person been in your head just, like the day before?
Mhm.
So those things sometimes are not coincidences. A lot of times I will have people just kind of float through my brain. It's just how my brain works. And it'll be somebody I haven't seen in a while or somebody that I really need to catch up to. And I'll reach out. And sure enough, especially if it's like family for me, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's a lot. And I'll finally reach out and call, like it might take me a day or so. And there's something going on with them.
Mhm.
There's a reason why I was supposed to reach out. And so, that wasn't a coincidence, which you could say, not a coincidence. You know, maybe, this is the perfect thing. The other day we wear these LifeWave patches that I sell, but I was out of one of them and Will had an order coming in and what came in were 2 envelopes. And I said, "Oh, did you order something else?" He said, "No." So he opened it and it was the patches that we needed that were supposed to go to a lady in California. And so I called the company because I'm like, we got this extra set of patches. And they said, keep them. And so is that a coincidence or
Yeah.
was that the angels taking care of something for me because we need to wear those patches?
Mhm.
And so, those kinds of things, they happen more often than not for me. You know, um, I believe that there are no coincidences anymore. So it's all things that are supposed to happen, just like that car accident was supposed to
Right,
happen.
right.
It was not a coincidence. So,
Just a couple of days ago, I was thinking, oh, I really want to reach out and get in touch with some so and so. And by the next morning, there was an email from her. And my first thought was, isn't that interesting that she's emailing me? But then I went, no, it's not interesting. It's the way it works. And sometimes I'll notice, I'll just think, oh, that's so interesting that that happened that way. But I still think that's better than what I used to do, is like not even notice
right.
or just think, oh, she must have just decided to reach out to me. It was just a coincidence, right? And
Yes, but
coincidences make life very much more boring. I mean, if you believe in coincidences, there's not much spark there.
yeah, no. And you're more conscious than you've ever been in your life about, what really is important and all of those
Mhm.
things. And so, changing your life in that way just brings more of that good to you. It's like they go, "Oh, she's getting it. Let's give her this surprise today."
They get
Let's
rewarded for getting
Yes,
for getting it right.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Well, Mary, you've talked about meditation and journaling. Are there any small, and you talked about being in the moment and paying attention and noticing. Are there any other small changes that we can make to see, to hear, to know that our angels can really help us out and help us change our lives?
So, with the one book that I wrote last year, and I don't have it in front of me because it's on the table. Oops, bad me. It's called The Ancestors Within. My chapter was called Angel Mentors. Um, Finding connection through inspiration, healing, and love. And I wrote the chapter and was just pleased. I mean, it was one of my greatest accomplishments in my life because I had always wanted to write something, a book. Um, and anyway, so I started off with, this is who I am. This is what I need to bring to the world because not just I used to say I'm not special, but I am going to say I'm special. But so is everybody else.
Yeah.
It's not just me that can have that access to the angels, to the guides. And so, what I've really been working on this year is having people understand that they need to develop a relationship with the angels. It's not just like, oh, let me call them in and ask them for this and then go about my life. That's not what we're talking about. Part of what the angel mentors help us figure out is we all have this inner wisdom that really is our soul truth and really knows what and how to do things in our lives. A lot of times we don't listen. And, as we begin to listen more, it just like, it's almost like it's doing a little happy dance, like, okay, let's give her some more because look, she's doing this. And so, but it's developing that relationship. I talk to the angels that I work with every single day.
Mm.
I say hello in the morning. I say good night at night. I ask for the things I want. Um, I went to a doctor this morning and I was a little nervous about it, but I asked them on the way there for what the outcome was that I wanted. It was exactly that. Exactly. Like you can't make that stuff up, right? It's just amazing. And so, yeah. So my program, I've actually started Discovering Your Angel Mentors, and it's a 6-month subscription program where I take you through 2 appointments a month, 90-minute Zooms, where we're going to help you develop who your team is, what they look like, what their names are, how you do the relationship with them, meditations every time that we meet, and you'll have that recorded to carry you through and help you develop even more. So, and my book, I'm going to be writing a book, I believe. I'm going to start here in about a month or so called Discovering Your Angel Mentors,
Nice.
because that'll go along with this program. Because I believe that we all kind of are in places where we're not all happy with our lives, or we want to shift some old energy. We want to unstick probably those stuck places where we seem to like be going against the wall and can't go further. Um, and with that, the ancestral piece and, helping us understand that our ancestors too play a role in this spirit team that comes and works with you. So it's huge.
Well, this will probably be a good time to tell our viewers how else they might work with you, where they can get more information. Your website is in the text here. Can they find out information about your Angel Mentors
I don't
workshop
have the
or
landing
program?
I don't have the landing page up quite yet, but I'm working on that this week. My goal is to finish that this week.
They
And
get on
so,
your email list, they'll be notified about that,
yeah,
right?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes, and that's on the homepage. So, that, and then the other way, a fun way to work with me, and maybe try out what I do and how I do things with meditation. I do something weekly called the Angel Inspiration Circle. And that's a weekly Zoom meditation where I record the meditation. We're live. If you can't come live, you still get the meditation afterwards. And you'll have that link to go back to as often as you want. It's about an hour. And I do that as a subscription. The first 4 weeks is $47. That's a bargain. If you don't like it, you cancel. And after that, it's $97. Still a bargain. And if you can cancel at any time. So, but it's a great way to kind of create community and, bring your love into the circle. And the meditations are how I do meditation is I have no idea where we're going, what we're doing, nothing's written. It's completely channeled and it's geared towards the angels gear it towards the people that come, their energy, what they need, and at the time. So it's kind of cool. I
Nice,
think it's
nice.
kind of cool. It amazes me all the time.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we were talking earlier about the asking and all of this. It reminded me, it's been probably over 20 years that in the course of a year, I had gone to 2 different energy healer types.
Mhm.
And both times the exact same thing happened. They started laughing at one point, and I'm like, what's so funny? Well, they're telling me that they're bored with you because you don't ask them for anything. And I remember the first time it happened, I went, I'm supposed to ask? You know, I didn't know that. And then I went home with the intention of doing that and apparently didn't. And so I go to this completely different person in the middle of when she's calling in for help and all of that. She goes, they really want you to like do some stuff because they're really kind of bored.
That's cute. I
I
love
think
that.
it is cute, it spurred me on to kind of go. I think I didn't realize that they really want permission. Is that the case? They want
That is the
permission
case.
to
They are here
encounter.
to help us, but their rules are they have to be asked in order to
Mhm.
help.
Yeah.
It's just like there's that one medium that walks down the streets of New Jersey with the nails this long, and she'll just walk up to somebody at random and start to give them messages from loved ones that they've lost. That's kind of like no boundaries and just, I mean, I don't, I'm, I need permission from you to do healing, to bring in the angels, to do
Mhm.
whatever it is with you. I'm just not, it's so funny because I'll go into my hairdressers and she all the time says, well, what does it feel like in here? I'm like, okay. I mean, it's not like a time when I feel like I'm usually on, but
Right.
they just expect sometimes that we're always on. And I learned early on that you really need to set those boundaries, and um, I think that's important. And I think that the angels have those same boundaries, that
Yeah.
they want to be asked and want to be invited in. And, it's just like having that friend that who doesn't have boundaries and is here to get, well, let's go do this today. Here, I got this for you. Wait a minute. Let me fix this. I can do that. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
you know, that doesn't feel good to me.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
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 Well, Mary, before we leave here today, what is one final piece of wisdom, or what do you want to leave our viewers with today?
Hmm. So I want to leave you with this quote, and I don't know where it came from. It's on a sign that I purchased years ago. Always leave room in your heart for the angels to dance.
Mm,
Because, for me, it's that dance. It's the dance of life. It's the dance of joy. It's bringing that to everyday life that really takes you to where you want to be, I believe. And I think we all have that desire. We just have all maybe different ways of thinking we're going to get there, and some people think, oh, I have to do it all myself. No, you don't. You can have them dance with you and help you along the way. And that's the beauty.
that sets up a beautiful vibe, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the angels can dance in your heart. Whoa,
Yes.
love that. Love that.
Yes.
So, Mary, thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your wisdom and passion with our viewers. I've learned more today, and I'll be taking some time to use some of your ideas. So, thanks for
Cool.
being here.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to thank anyone who's watching us live or the replay. And thank you for joining us for the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. If you love this interview and you want to share it with your friends, it will be on our YouTube channel over the next 48 hours. So go over to YouTube and type in On Purpose Woman Global Community. And you can sign up for notifications. Just sign up to at least like us there, subscribe there. That would be great. There are over 150 inspiring, informative, and fun shows for you to watch on our channel. Plus, in May, we started recording our speakers at our On Purpose Women Global Community gatherings. There's a lot more information there as well. October is a light month for the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. Our only interview is when the other host, Catherine Yarborough, talks with Andrea Hyland on Tuesday, October 18th, about family trauma to ancestral healing. We'll have a new lineup for you in November and December, and you can see that when the November-December issue of On Purpose Woman comes out on November 1st. You can always find out what's going on with the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show with the On Purpose Woman Global Community and On Purpose Woman magazine by going to my website, opwgc.com. It's also in the text. And just click on whatever you want to look at, the talk show, the magazine, or whatever. And while you're there, check out the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Thank you again for watching the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show.